Welcome to yet another session where ZEE5, the largest Indian entertainment destination, in association with ET Brand Equity, presents the ZEE5 Intelligence Monitor, a knowledge series that will deep dive into consumer behavior and that predicts and towards products and services across diverse categories. Today, be it paying utility bills, purchasing tickets, or sending money, people are using digital wallets or digital payment solutions for nearly everything. As per reports, over 300 million people leveraged multiple digital payment platforms in the last year with the unified payment interface, that is the UPI, crossing around $1 trillion in annual value and 5 billion monthly transactions. These are huge numbers, and the domain has seen massive growth both to peer-to-peer and peer-to-merchant transactions. Now, why we are talking about all these numbers? We are talking about all these numbers because today, in the 5th edition of ZEE5 Intelligence Monitor, we are going to focus on the rapidly evolving digital payments scenario in India, the industry that has come to be. And people say that, the digital payments industry has really come into being after the COVID-19 pandemic. In this session today, I am joined by Mr. Rajiv Bakshi, Chief Operations Officer, Revenue at Zee Entertainment Enterprises, who has been the brain behind the ZEE5 Intelligence Monitor. And today we will just do a freewheeling conversation on, deep diving into the market insights of the digital payments industry that lies ahead, and what are the opportunities there in the country. So welcome, Rajiv. It's a great pleasure to talk to you again. Today, as we just discussed about, how we are going to look into and discuss about the market insights of digital payments industry. But before doing that, I really wanted to come to you and understand, right? What was the purpose behind releasing this, ZEE5 Intelligence Monitor? You have been doing this across industry sectors, across, consumer-led industries. So there are twofold questions here. One is obviously why, what's the purpose of the overall ZEE5 Intelligence Monitor looking into several industries? And secondly, what's the, reason behind going deep into, carving the data sets of something that is called digital payments?
Right. So I'll break the ZEE5 Intelligence Monitor in 3 parts. First is the ZEE5 part. Now, ZEE5, as you know, is one of the most successful, one of the most fast-growing OTT app in India. It's consumed and watched by viewers both in urban and also in smaller households, markets like rural markets. So it's a very pan-India product. ZEE5 appears today and is watched in about 12 languages. So it's a good kind of reflection and we get a lot of data from ZEE5 to get a sense of what really is happening around the country. And then we can easily contrast between various cohorts. Now, as you know, OTT is largely dependent, or I would say not just dependent, but also able by data that it generates. Now, we get tremendous amount of power through that data, which is to kind of assess the kind of trends, projections, and forecasts we can do basis that about various diverse cohorts. Now, we can understand how women are feeling about a certain content piece versus male. We can understand how younger lot is feeling versus an older lot. We can understand North and South. We can understand East and West contrast. So a lot of kind of information in that sense, a lot of insights, enrichment, etc., appears from ZEE5. Now, that's the ZEE5 part of the ZEE5 Intelligence Monitor. Then we have in the middle called intelligence, is where I was reaching to. Once you have all the kind of data, what can you do which can become much more relevant, coherent, and also usable? And that's the piece that we felt that we should create something which could be meaningful, not just for us, but also to our other stakeholders, including advertisers. And finally is then how do we release this information? So let's make a monitor or a report, which is to suggest what is the state of a certain industry, or what is the trend in a certain industry, what are the data points which are backing it, what is perhaps expected imminently, and how well can we communicate this, and how effectively can we communicate? So everybody can take some recourse to the data and also some advantage through that. So it's an effort it's a tremendous effort the ZEE5 team is putting to basically release this across industries, as you mentioned. It's not just we are focusing on one industry. We're focusing from auto to mobile to e-commerce and many more. And today we're going to talk about UPI and digital payments, which is again a very high decibel trend. And I really call it the world's envy and India's pride. And that's where it's reached. And we felt that we should be talking about this. There's nothing more opportune time than now to talk about it, where the numbers that you send are actually shocking to the rest of the world, but I think it's very pleasing for us.
Great. You rightly mentioned that, it's the world's envy and India's pride, because India is truly leading that, the UPI revolution, the digital payment revolution, as so as to say. I will drive your attention to this, and I'll connect my next question to your insight on this. What do you think has led to this adoption, this massive adoption of, digital payment solutions? To many, it is the COVID-led, restrictions that have really, guided us to use these interfaces. But do you really think so? That's one. And secondly, what is your overall understanding about, what's going to be held as the, inflection point in this entire journey?
I think the biggest factor, and we have to kind of be acknowledging right upfront, is that it is the vision of the Prime Minister of India, Narendra Modi ji, and of course the effective rollout by the government, which has actually made this so easy for everyone to use without a worry and with full security and safety. I think the first credit comes here. Later, of course, every participant in this digital ecosystem, whether it's a telcos or other digital enablers, all of them have done a fantastic job to provide the access again across India. A product like this is thriving because of the mass acceptance, because of the network effect. So it's not a product for a certain class of society, but it's for everybody. And I've not said this before, but largely, if you see, it's really competing with cash. When we did the survey and we realized this, that it's not a competition between UPI and digital cards like debit cards or credit cards, but really is competing with cash. It's basically finding a solution for you and I not to carry cash beyond a reasonable number. And you can absolutely 100% rely on a system which is so well enabled in another ubiquitous product, just like UPI itself, called mobile phone, which is almost in every hand in this country. So if you add the two, I think one, the power of mobile, the access through mobile phones, and then the ready acceptance of this as a service across India, in small shops to large shops, from services to goods, from internet to offline purchases. I think all of this has come together to make this a success. So it's not just one factor. I think a lot of multiple factors have played. And it's such a beautiful orchestra that they all played, that all of them come actually to a crescendo at the same time.
Great. It's a great point that you make, right? It is actually replacing cash. And honestly, in my household, as I see, earlier, 2 years back, we used to, stand in lines and, of ATMs and withdraw cash. Today, I don't do that, right? And none of my, relatives do that. But what, I'll drive your attention here because, I come from a very small town in Assam called Silchar, right? And people there might argue, right, that I'm in Delhi, I'm a resident of a metropolitan city, all these facilities are at my hands. But will my relatives, staying in my native, right, whether they are going to use the same, the same services in the same intensity, or is cash still prevalent there? Just a couple of weeks back, I was in my hometown, and you won't believe, I saw major adoption there, probably more than what I see here. I took a rickshaw, to a nearby place, and I paid by UPI, right? So the adoption is more there. And I think, that data point is indicated on the report itself, where the metro and non-metro divide is not there when it comes to UPI, right? So what's your take on this?
Well, you went to Silchar, I was traveling around the world, and the only first thing that really you missed, and there was a time you used to miss your family and home and food and all of that. I think, yes, of course, I was traveling with the family, so there was no reason to miss them. Food, I think you get this all around the world now, Indian food. But really the thing that you missed was this UPI and digital way to pay. And I was in America and I could not use it to do most of the purchasing. I felt that day how fortunate we are in India that from smallest of 30 rupees to 12,000 rupees, you can just do with an ease of a button.
Correct.
And in a developed economy like US, one was feeling a challenge that I wish we had this product and we could have been so much more empowered to do it. I can tell you this, that I make every payment almost, and I travel, and I'm sure many people travel and they have a lot of family back home and they have to make a lot of payments, whether it's for tuition fees or whether it's for doctor's appointment. And you could be anywhere, any part of the world, but you can enable that payment within a few seconds without a worry and with complete dependency. See, the biggest thing about any financial system success is the dependency. And I think we can firmly say that with eyes closed, everyone is 100% dependent, not just of sending it, but also receiving it. Because there is a receiving end as well. Even when you take a rickshaw and you pay somebody, even he's confident that his money will come and there will not be a fraud in this. And I think we've traveled such a long distance in such a short time that I think we must take immense pride. And eventually, obviously, the users are being not just a beneficiary, but also enabler of this trend. And I think it is going to go as the product of the decade.
Great, that's great. Couple of words that you mentioned, in your last couple of conversation that we're having. One really are really stand out as keywords to me are, one is security and one is fraud, right? So how far do you think that confidence, right? Confidence building has been done, both from the both for the merchants as well as for us consumers, that this transaction is actually secure. That confidence really has led to massive adoption. Because I remember when my 70-year-old father was introduced to the same platform first, and he was like, yeah, whether this will go through, whether there is a real transaction happening. And obviously, because of the stories that he has heard,
Yes.
He was skeptical about the security of the entire transaction. But now he is very he's used to this process. So what did it take to gain that confidence from both from the merchant side as well as from the consumer side?
Yes, your conversation about your father reminds me of a lot of us had with our fathers when we asked them to start using credit card. And they felt, no, not credit card, because it may not be safe. Someone may do overspending beyond my capacity. I'll rather go for debit card. I remember this debate 20 years back when debit cards came in, and they almost challenged credit card because it was all about spending the money that you have and not taking a risk of something you may not have. And today, the debit card customers are saying that I feel much more safe and secure making payment through UPI. One, I don't need to carry these cards. Second, there are safety systems, double safety standards. And in fact, he and she feel much more secure using this than at times even more than debit cards. So I think it's a tremendous journey we made. And like in any industry, I think this is the new era that we arrived at.
Right. Interestingly, you mentioned, and there is one very interesting point in the ZEE5 monitor that attracts our attention to the data set, where we see that and the report mentions that usage of mobile wallets makes women feel independent and tech savvy.
Yeah.
What's your take on this? I mean,
I think that's a wonderful insight. Basically, to me, that is the highlight of this study, where how do women feel about and how much are they using this versus males? Because, especially out of the metros, it's one still assumes that mobile is still held in the hand of the male, but it's not the case. It's much more an assumption than a fact. Women actually are doing more UPI payments than men in the rest of India. Maybe in metros it's 50-50 divide. But if you go beyond the metros, women actually are using this to make online purchases even more than men. Now, of course, the fact is that a lot of these purchases happen for grocery. And therefore, women are perhaps more in charge of the grocery, and therefore they're able to do it. And that's perhaps the reason happening. But the interesting thing which came out was about tech savviness.
Right.
Now, there are very few ways you can make anyone in the interior India feel tech independent and tech savvy. And yes, social media platforms came much earlier, and that made people feel a lot of tech resolve and empowerment. And I think UPI think has gone one step beyond, because that was only conversation. This is real money. And the power to utilize both spends and receiving money on a UPI, I think making them feel very, very technologically advanced and empowered. And I think that's an amazing kind of thing, that women are feeling progressive using this, a product which is very advanced, very technologically enabled, and readily accepted around both metros and non-metros. So I think that's one of the kind of key takeaways from it as to how a women cohort is feeling around this product today.
That's a great insight. And I think it also drives our attention towards the Bharat and non-Bharat divide that we mentioned about. And you mentioned rightly that, women are doing the transaction more in the in non-metro areas, and that's why they are it is bringing them at par with the mainstream. I'll again attract your attention towards another data point, and it's interesting that you mentioned about debit cards, right? The debate of debit cards and credit cards. The data point in your in the ZEE5 study says that 63% of debit card users now prefer mobile wallet and UPI, and you rightly stated that point. I wanted to ask your and quiz your brains basically on what is basically what you as a creator of this ZEE5 monitor have assessed the data points and really look at what has caused this paradigm shift.
Right. See, there are three big points why this big emerging data point has appeared. Number one is, I think, the ease of use. It is absolutely easy to use this product. Number two is, you don't see that as often. You only see that for some product category on debit card, which is the cashback offers. Mm-hmm. Time and again, there are multiple cashback offers which comes and makes it very rewarding for you to accept it and use the UPI system. And three, I think, is very important, is the speed of transaction. It is rapid. It is so fast that no one will ever complain that there is any buffering or there is an OTP issue or any such thing. All these three factors actually have made this not just differentiated, but I think it's going to surpass the utility of debit cards.
Right. So, Rajiv, we spoke about a lot of, insightful data points, and, that has really emerged from the, from the user behaviors and the consumer, consumer behaviors. One thing that I wanted to understand, right, and stitch it together, right, for ZEE5 is like, how do you see ZEE5 or maybe, or OTT platforms like ZEE5 help and support, fintech brands to reach and connect to their desired set of consumers and multiply their consumer numbers?
See, our entire idea to our kind of fintech brands and even other category which is chasing a similar mindset cohort is that we can give you two things. One, how your category of audience is thinking about your product category. Mm-hmm. How ready are they to accept it? How many in percentage are fence sitters? How many are early adopters? And what are their projection or expectation further from your product category, which will help you fuel your growth? So we give a lot of intelligence insight on that. Beyond that, we can also help you reach to them, which is through our platform, because we have an advertising platform on ZEE5. And should you want to reach a cohort of this kind, which is well-defined, well-measured, high ROI driven, then we can customize solutions, packages, and advertising solution for all fintech and non-fintech brands to reach cohorts of their making. And I think these two services put together makes it a very unique, compelling kind of solution for any marketer who's looking to both grow the business and also understand the trends and projection of the business.
Great. Rajiv, as we come towards the end of this discussion, I really can't help asking you this, this very basic question, and this is very interesting from my end as well. How do you see the future of digital payments, growing, right? I know every day new facts come out about this market. We think, this is growing, but where do you see the future driving towards, in terms of digital payment and in terms of as far as Indians are concerned?
See, see, again, we've done a study on the trends and insights. So we've not done a number study. So I can't make a number projection, but what I can tell you is going to be second to breathing.
What
it will be as intuitive, as natural as to breathing.
Mm-hmm.
And it's going to make you so empowered that you will feel enabled to make any transaction of any kind with anyone at any time in any location.
Right. What a powerful statement.
Power. That's too much power. Everybody will have it democratically, equally, despite your caste, creed, socioeconomic background. Everyone will be equally championing this. Mm-hmm. And the beauty of this is, Satyajit, that besides being a user of it, you will also as a user be empowering it. And I think that's what I kind of find it most fascinating.
That's good. That's beautiful, Rajiv. And, before we go, Rajiv, what's your, what would be your piece of advice to marketers of these brands, right? How do they market their brands more effectively?
Well, I can tell them a few things that you have realized that consumers love the cashback offers. They love some incentive to use it. And I think continuity of that, because that it's still early days, right? It's not been like, it's not a decade-old product. It's a very new product. I think continuity on some of the offers that you're offering and encouraging audience to repeat purchase before it becomes a permanent fixture in their life, not just a habit. But like I said, second to breathing, continue investing with the audience, continue communicating them various facets from a safety to utility to convenience to ease and to speed. And I think audience needs and customers still need all the reassurances that you have provided. After all, it's a financial product. So you cannot always stop communicating, continue communicating with them. And the benefits are for years to come.
Great. On that note, Rajiv, thank you so much for helping us and our audiences gauge the, the industry better. I think two things stand out as key keywords here for me today is one is obviously, India's gift to the world, that is, digital payments. And secondly, what you rightly said, and such a powerful statement it is, it's going to be second to breathing. Thank you so much, Rajiv, for joining us today. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for joining us. Until next time, stay tuned to ET Brand Equity.
Thank you, everyone.